Yeah. So let me get this. Yeah. We have no funding for water safety, and I work as a commercial and residential painter, and so generally on Mondays and Tuesdays I'm fielding media calls from across the Great Lakes about the drowning incidents that have happened over the weekend.
Yeah.
So, um, yeah, it's it.
Your back your background looks really nice.
Well, I'm working. I live in Homewood. I'm working in Homewood, and I just was able to get home today to do this.
Okay, well I appreciate you doing it. I won't hold up too much of your time. Let's get started here.
Sure.
Let's see. Is it recording? Hold on.
Recording in progress.
Okay, perfect. So let's get started. That video that's on YouTube,
Yeah.
what exactly am I looking at there?
Um. Okay. So was it Sunday? Um. I was just kind of hanging around the house on Sunday on social media. I saw that the Michigan City Lifeguards Facebook page, they upgraded their flag systems from yellow to red, and then someone commented on the post that the lifeguards just made a rescue. And I know, there's like a live webcam in Michigan City that you can actually rewind. So I went and looked and found the rescue. So when we look at the shoreline of Michigan City, Indiana, there's like a ridge. It's not just a straight line on the shoreline. There's ridges, and where these ridges are, we call it a scallop. So where the water rises the highest, it will receive the strongest, and that's where the rip current channel is. And at that beach, because of that pier, that's a pretty predominant rip current channel that's almost always there when there's wave activities. So you could easily see that there's people wading into the rip current channel and then slowly start drifting away from shore. And then the lifeguards, they go out through the rip current channel because they're using the current to swim with to get them out there fast, provide flotation, and then bring these two people back to the shoreline. So it's a pretty standard type of rip current rescue. We don't hear much about them because oftentimes, they happen. They go without notice, without media attention. It's only if someone picks it up on social media and can grab some video of it that then it becomes something that we got to talk about or that we can talk about. So
I think a lot of times people hear about people getting stranded or sadly drowning because of this, and they think, oh, well, they couldn't swim. What's the danger? You could be an avid swimmer, and what's the danger if you get caught up in one of these?
so let's define swimming and what's an avid swimmer because people have this misconception that knowing how to swim means you can't drown. But they don't understand that knowing how to swim is just knowing how to swim. Okay, it's kind of like saying knowing how to run means you could run a marathon. No, because you got to train for it, diet for it, have shoes for it. A lot of preparation goes into running a marathon. So a drowning incident is a marathon for your life. When people go to the beach, they're not swimming. They're wading in the water. They're just standing there, okay? Knee deep, waist deep, neck deep, right? They're not swimming. We should define a swimmer as one person going 100 yards without stopping, the length of a football field, because people could visualize that and they may be honest with themselves that, okay, well, maybe I know how to swim, but I couldn't swim the length of a football field, right? Because that's one of the biggest challenges we've been having with water safety is the go-to is if you want to stop drowning, teach everyone how to swim. But then we're not teaching them that it's an endurance sport that you must have spring training for. You must be going to the pool and swimming hundreds and thousands of yards, and people are not doing that. Okay? They just say, I know how to swim, my kids know how to swim, I don't have to worry about it. And then they don't know that what we say oftentimes is water safety is not common sense. It's not common sense to know that panic is the first stage of drowning. It's that moment when you're in water over your head, you realize you're in trouble, instant panic. And if you can't get through that panic, you're likely just going to submerge in less than 1 minute. So, and it's not common sense to know that a drowning person will submerge in less than 1 minute. It's not common sense to know that if you submerge, your heart's going to stop in around 3 minutes. Irreversible brain damage begins at 4 minutes. And at 10 minutes of submersion, if they're then pulling you out of the water, it's likely just a body recovery. right? So it's simple information which is not widely distributed like other safety protocols. So water safety should be as common sense as wearing your seatbelt or knowing stop, drop, and roll, or don't text and drive, right? But it's not. We know these other things because we have educational programs that support these things, and there's rules and regulations and laws that are enforced. So from kindergarten through senior year of high school, we're teaching kids stop, drop, and roll. We're teaching them to get in the hall and take cover if there's a tornado. We're teaching them to run, hide, or fight if there's an active shooter. We're teaching them to drop down, take cover, and hold on if there's an earthquake. Even in Illinois and Indiana, we're teaching earthquake drills over water safety, right? So that's what we need to understand, is that water safety is not common sense. Most people have a misconception that knowing how to swim is water safety. You don't have to worry about drowning. The reality is that oftentimes, people who know how to swim drown at a higher rate than people that don't know how to swim. If you know how to swim, you spend more time in the water, around the water, overestimating your abilities in water. And it's not common sense to know that males overestimate their swimming ability by about 50%. It's also not common sense to know that 80% of all drowning victims are male because of risk takers, peer pressure, and overestimating their abilities. So again, everything I just told you, real simple, easy to understand, it's just not widely taught. And that's one of the reasons why we advocate for a water safety school curriculum, because a water safety school curriculum would be the fastest approach to reach the largest audience in the shortest amount of time, efficiently and effectively, cost effectively. And then if supporting materials were going to all the parents, they'd be getting this as well. So we have been seeing a slow transition from for water safety and like swim lessons teaching float first, and then swim, float, swim techniques, especially for young children. But we haven't gotten that for adults yet either. And then, important to probably add is that if you're struggling in water over your head, we recommend that you flip, float, and follow. So flip over your back and you float to keep your head above water, to calm yourself down from the panic of drowning, to conserve your energy, and then follow a safe path out of the water. Now, we've been advocating this in the Great Lakes region since 2012. In 2017, the United Kingdom adopted Float to Live. In 2022, Australia adopted Float to Survive. 2023, New Zealand adopted Float First, is what they're saying in New Zealand. 2023, New Zealand goes with Float First. But the common denominator here is float. The most important water skill that you can have is your ability to float, to stay at the surface, and continue breathing for as long as possible for either self-rescue or for professional rescue to arrive. If you don't float first, you might not get the exit strategy portion of this.
I heard someone recently, I think it was a fire official, said, treat Lake Michigan, no matter where you are, like you're in the ocean. It's an open body of water. Do you agree with that statement? And if so, why?
Yes, absolutely. When we look at the Great Lakes drowning statistics, on average, we'll have more drownings in the Great Lakes each year than the East Coast and West Coast combined. We don't think people are just overestimating their ability. We believe that people just aren't estimating their ability, period. It's just like this is their fun day to take a day off of work, get to the beach, be in the outdoors, rest, relax, have some fun. We want people to do that. But if they get in trouble in water over their head, things can change very quickly. You have a very, very small window of opportunity to, stay at the surface, continue breathing, or for self-rescue or for professional rescue. We have all of the same hazards as the oceans, except for, we don't have sharks, but we have rip currents, longshore currents, structural currents, outlet currents. We have offshore wind currents, right? So we have the same hazards in the Great Lakes as we also do in the ocean. There can even be meteo tsunamis. So it's when fast-moving storms are going across the lakes, where we can have the water recede from one end of the lake, it piles up on the other side, the storm passes, now that water sloshes back to the other side like a bathtub, back and forth. And when this is happening, you have ebbing, like an ebbing tide, right? And we also have rip currents and waves that are happening at the same time. So there's a lot of hazards on the Great Lakes, It's not really hard to understand. It's just hard for us to get the message out. Um, Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna ask you, like, okay, so I'm going to the beach for a day with my kids.
Hmm.
We're used to being in a pool. We're not used to being in an open body of water like that.
Yep.
We think we're decent swimmers. We've never had to save our lives, but we think we're decent swimmers. Is there anything that I would visually see about any of these currents, rip currents versus a wave coming through, that I could say maybe I shouldn't go in the water where my body is submerged in the water?
Well, first off, I'd say if you're going to the beach and you think you're a decent swimmer, can you swim a minimum of 100 yards? Most likely the answer is no, right? So you're not a decent swimmer. You're a great wader. You're good at walking, going knee deep, waist deep. Males are always neck deep, bobbing on the surface, right? To simplify things, we need to understand that winds are dangerous currents across the Great Lakes, and which way the wind is blowing is going to have a dependency on what type of currents you may have. So when you go to the beach and you're looking at the water, is it coming onshore? Is it coming sideshore from one angle or the other, or is it blowing offshore? Okay. If it's coming onshore, you're likely going to have some wave activity. If there's breaking waves, there are dangerous currents. These currents will increase with the size of the wave. So a 1 to 2 foot wave, that's not going to be a problem for an adult-sized person. But for young children, yeah, it's a big problem if they step into water over their heads. So if they get knocked over, they might not have the ability to stand up even in shallow water, right? So when the waves get around 2 or 3 feet, these are going to be yellow flag conditions. People are allowed to be in the water, so we have more people in the water, and they're unaware of the dangerous currents. So another thing is when you're at the beach and you're looking at the water, when you're standing at the water line, look down the water line, both sides. Do we see any like high ridges? We call it a scallop. It's like a C shape where the water rises the highest, it will recede the strongest, and that's where the rip current channel is. Are you entering into the rip current channel? Oftentimes that water is calmer, but not much calmer on the Great Lakes because all the waves are wind driven, and we have waves breaking every 2 or 3 seconds. Right, so it's still going to be pretty choppy, but where the water rises the highest, it will receive the strongest. You can see that in that video from the lifeguard rescue in Michigan City. Also, if you're going to the beach, buy life jackets, bring life jackets, wear life jackets. You have a 99% survival rate in the Great Lakes if you're wearing a life jacket, right? That's a really, really good survival rate. Now, we heard there might be a possibility of a law being passed or proposed in the state of Illinois after the recent incidences in the playpen, making it a requirement that you must always wear a life jacket on a boat. There are some life jacket laws that are already in place. Is it going to be enforceable? Should we, add a new law, or should we just enforce the rules that are already there and increase public education? I think public education should be the first step. And again, though, if you're wearing a life jacket in the Great Lakes, you have a 99% survival rate. Very few people have drowned in the Great Lakes while wearing a life jacket, and those that did were in very cold waters for very extreme long periods of time. So, it's.
So even if you're caught up in a rip current, for example, if you have a life jacket, you could be saved.
Yeah, the difference between life and death in the Great Lakes is your ability to float or having a flotation device. You have to stay at the surface, continue breathing for as long as possible if you want to survive, right? If you are struggling in the water, an active drowning victim, you're going to submerge in less than 1 minute. Is someone going to be able to notice that? Are they going to be able to get to you and give you flotation, right? Not likely. So it's that's kind of where I would go. Eyes on the water, hands on touch supervision of all young swimmers. I've seen parents at the shoreline and their kid is out on the sandbar, 30 yards from them. Well, that's too far if their child gets in trouble. We got to think for water rescue, time and space. How much time does it take for me to get from A to B, right? And then do I have a flotation if they're drowning? Because if you don't, now you're putting yourself at risk as well. Would-be rescuers often become drowning victims.
Perfect. You were great. Hold on, let me see how I can.
And I might have another call coming in a minute or so.
Okay, no, you're good. You did very well. I appreciate your time, and thank you so much. This is going to air at 4, 5, and 9, just so you know.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And the lifeguards did an excellent job. We know that there's been other lifeguard rescues as well at other beaches. They have a very, very important task, and they are absolutely necessary at beaches. If the beach charges for parking, there should be lifeguards there. So,
All right, perfect. I agree. Thank you so much for your time.
all right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.